Oh, shalom, my friends, shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And we certainly are guilty of. Wait, I lost my screen here. Let me kill this. Okay, here we are. Hello. Of underrepresenting Asians on the program. And I love Asian. I order Chinese 3 times a week. So it's very important to me to have Asian people represented on the Dave's Gone By program. And you can't get more Asian than our guest, who is now. First of all, what is it? Are you Jonathan? Are you Jay? Are you J? What the hell is your name?
Jonathan, you can call me Jonathan. Jonathan would be great.
Shalom, Jonathan. Welcome to the Davehood.
Thank
You
you.
are
Thank you.
Jonathan. So wait a minute. Is there another Jonathan Cho in Equity? Why then do you have this name called?
Well, there's a very famous John Cho from Star Trek and Harold and Kumar. Um,
Mm,
and so, Jonathan Cho, I was like, is that too close? But my middle name's Elijah. So I was like, that's kind of a
yeah. So and
good
hey, I
name.
come from the chosen people. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
little.
I saw the title. It made me think of when I was in high school. I was not qualified for student body office, but that was my campaign slogan.
Who
Was
was it? Chosen. That's very
the
good.
chosen?
I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah,
glad.
yeah.
I'm sorry I stole it from you. I am.
No,
I'm
no,
not only a racist. I'm a plagiarist.
no.
So, so we're off on a really good foot here. But let me remind people that they can see, first of all, they can see your play, Mr. Yunioshi, May 18th through the 29th at the Soho Playhouse on I like to call it Van Dammit Street because I'm Jewish. Van Dammit Street. And we saw your trailer, but tell us more about your relationship to this character from Breakfast at Tiffany's and why that made you create a one-man show about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the character that I'm playing is it's a pretty rough watch, and I don't think I had seen the actual movie Breakfast at Tiffany's until I was working on the show. But I know that performance, Mickey Rooney as Mr. Yunioshi, comes up a lot as being, something that's I would say damaging, I suppose. And so it was kind of born out of that. But I'm also I want to say like a fairly inoffensive person. I don't particularly not enjoy, but I think that it's with comedy, I'm so terrified of like making someone feel a certain negative way, I
Oh,
think.
I
And
have no
so
problem with that
I,
whatsoever.
and so I think of like with comedy, I think that that's sort of necessary in terms of trying to find where that boundary lies. And so writing this show was interesting for me in trying to write something that tackles the subject with humor, um, that could potentially mitigate some of the damage that comes with seeing something like that, and maybe reclaiming, reappropriating. Is that a word?
Well, because Dave, the host of this show, was talking early in the program with his wife about Charlie Chan movies, which were also there were
Okay.
white guys in yellow things
Yes.
with
Yeah.
a more
Yeah.
positive quote unquote
Yeah.
stereotype. Where
Sure.
do you go with that in terms of Charlie Chan also not good but better, you know?
Well, I mean, something that I'm thinking of probably because of the news about Fred Ward. Um, but I remember seeing. Oh, I don't know if you
He
Fred.
died. I know this, but
Yeah, yeah. I remember growing up and seeing Remo Williams for the first time, and Joel Grey plays his uh, grandmaster, the dude who teaches him how to fight. But I remember it was the first time he says he's Korean, and I had seen like Chinese characters and Japanese characters on screen, and I'm Korean, and so when he said he was Korean, even if he didn't look Korean or anything, I was kind of like, oh, there's a Korean guy on my screen, like there's a Korean character, I suppose. And so, it's tricky because when you don't, I think, necessarily see yourself represented, you kind of grasp for what you can get, I suppose. And so it was one of those things that, like, now I look back at it and I'm kind of like, you know the young eyes I saw it with, where I was just like, wow, that's they're talking about Korean people on screen, like being combined with like as an adult being like, okay, well, why wouldn't they have cast like a Korean guy? Or, but I'm
Well, no,
also
first of all, Koreans have no talent. Okay, so that's
that's exactly what
if there was a talented Korean out there, they were, and you
it
were
would have
talking
got him. That's the question of kind of like, is it lack of opportunity or is it lack of talent? And I feel like until more opportunities come up, that's the thing that can get thrown out of kind of like, well, where's the high profile Korean guy? I mean, we have John Cho now.
and base, and you have the premier of North Korea, basically.
Oh yeah.
So here's the deal: how do you make fun of him without being offensive to Koreans? And because come on, the guy looks like one of those Russian dolls you uncork, and I mean, he's a ridiculous looking human being, no matter what race he is. But he happens to be Korean. So how do you make fun of him in a way that doesn't go over the line of like making fun of Koreans?
Right. Now we're talking about Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un. I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah. No.
You know, personally, I thought all you people know each other. No, I guess
yeah.
not.
No. No, I wish I was gonna say I wish I knew Kim Jong-un, but like I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, like, and maybe in the sense that he seems like he could use someone to talk to, perhaps that isn't like his circle. I think, in terms of how to make fun of, an Asian person without making fun of Asian people, I think that's like the trick, right? Because it's with any of these like topics, it's kind of like there's a trap there, because I feel like just recently it sort of happened with the Will Smith, Chris Rock sort of thing, where it's kind of like here is this huge high profile event and the discourse around it. It was very difficult to sort of parse or kind of like, are you talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock, or are you talking about like Black people? And, it's kind of like, and that's the thing is it's kind of like in making fun of someone like Kim Jong-un, I think, I mean, maybe what I just said about like the guy doesn't seem like he has a lot of friends might be a way to like.
Well, he's had them all murdered.
Right, that too. He's a dictator. You could. It's
yeah.
like the dictator thing. You could attack him for being a dictator. But yeah, I think that especially with this show, Mr. Yunioshi, an interesting thing that I wanted to try to do was, I'm sure. You're as another performer, both you and Dave. I think that there's a certain desire to connect with the characters you play, I suppose. And so I knew that when I was playing Mickey Rooney, I was kind of like, well, I have to be able to connect with this person somehow, even with the, performance that's out there. And I think that for me, one of the things I thought was that desire to kind of like, as a performer, the desire to like be recognized, to be appreciated, to be loved, I suppose. And so I thought that would be my in. And in that, how many times in a desire to make an audience laugh or in wanting to get a reaction, have I done something that was like, oh, okay, maybe too much. And so like coming from that place, I think it became a little easier to sympathize with Mickey Rooney, the person.
Well, one of the things that I really, I saw a clip of you on, it's like a Facebooky thing where they ask a bunch of folks, or they ask a bunch of Asian people.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. The Jubilee video.
Yeah. I mean, they do a lot of these. This one was about.
Right. Do all Asian Americans think alike, I believe was.
That kind of. Yeah. And one of the interesting things, though, is that you were always sort of more moderate or to the other side of all these other Asian people. It's like, is this really, how offensive is this? And you're like, well, yeah. And they're like, I can't believe it, dude. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I love that you see the subtlety in these things.
I think it's, that was a very fun video to shoot, and I'm still friends with with we became friends on social media afterwards. But yeah, I remember, because when I hear a question, I'm slow to respond, and I'm sorry, which makes it difficult for interviews, because I'm like, I want to think about this question.
Thinking. We don't do thinking on this program.
You just go. I mean, I appreciate that too. I wish I could be more like off the cuff. But some of the questions they were asking, I was kind of like, I don't think there are easy answers. I mean, the one I think of off the top of my head, which might be the most pertinent for our conversation, was are Asian stereotypes funny? I think was maybe the question, and then you had to stand whether you strongly agree or disagree. And my initial reaction was kind of like, they're not. They can be hurtful. They can be hurtful. But at the same time, I think of kind of like within communities of kind of like how Koreans feel about Koreans, of kind of like how we feel about, off the top of my, and I don't know if it's as prominent now, but I remember I used to think like a prime trait of being a Korean man was smoking, drinking, and gambling.
See, that
And
would
it's
not
kind of like,
translate to another culture. We would not think of that as being Korean. Internally, you guys would think this. Well,
right. But like, again, it's like, that's no one particularly close to me, but I remember like, I'm a military brat, so I got to grow up on a military base in Korea. And so going off base, like I was kind of like, man, Korean dudes love to party.
But military people, what else are they going to do all day? It's
Right.
Maybe it's not that they were Korean. They just, like soldiers, would spend their time doing this.
Oh, the soldiers would go out. Right.
Yeah.
Well, but my dad's, both my parents are U.S. Air Force, and so retired now. But so it was this U.S. soldiers mixing up with like the all age Korean. I always think of like older Korean dudes as being that, but that's like a stereo. And I don't know if it's a particularly funny stereotype, but I feel like were I to make, a joke like that amongst other Koreans, maybe there'd be like a certain kind of like, and so that's why I was kind of like, well, maybe they can be funny if it's like born of the community or someone who's close to the community. I also feel like, because I think that, you see that too with like people, especially in New York. I think of how diverse New York is and how that makes, comedians have a wider net, I suppose, to cast of like, well, these are jokes that I'm able to make because I'm familiar with these communities. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, all right. Yeah. But it's finding that very particular line where it understands the thing, makes fun of it, but also doesn't cross the line where it's offensive. By the way, I have a question for you. What does dog taste like?
oh wow. See that
There.
there's a Korean stereotype.
Yeah, there you go.
I actually have not tasted dog, although I have had an opportunity when I was in Korea, but I have not had the
Wait, what? Whoa!
privilege.
What opportunity? What was the McDonald's there? Do they have leashes on the?
No, I don't. I've seen and it was when I was very little, so I don't even know if it might have gone out of vogue. I feel like it was the World Cup, because when I was in in Korea, I was in high school on the base for the World Cup, and I remember I don't want to call them like the dog farmers union, maybe. We're trying to have like a stand, I suppose, at the thing, and like culturally they're like, yeah, you can't do that. And I was kind of like, okay, well, that might be it not.
Well, first of all, it's halal but not kosher, so there's that whole issue.
All right, I was wondering.
Yeah. But see, there's a thing. There's it's an ugly stereotype that has a kernel of truth.
Truth, right? Sure.
We're eating dogs, right? Maybe not schnauzers because there's just so much hair. But you're Mexican hairless. If you want a little, like wings, it's good.
I wonder if they have if they import. I doubt they do, but I wonder if when they were doing dog farming if they imported their dogs. This
Well,
is like
Newfoundland could be a family of 8.
right, like a big dog.
Exactly. You know, a shepherd is kind of stringy, but oh my God, you get yourself a good pug.
Oh, a pug. I mean, my other thing is I'm like, dogs are so cute. And so it's one of those things that's like also just like, oh, but also I think cows are cute, you know?
Those are cute. And they're
Cows
kosher. Right.
and pigs. Pigs are adorable to me.
I could live
Like
with
a little teacup. Oh,
Now, we're going to totally move away from this. And thank you, by the way, for being so, because you're going to watch this video in the archives and they're going to like, this son of a bitch. I can't believe he made me talk about these things. I got to show this to my family now. This is all over the web. And I'm talking about eating dogs.
I mean, I think like
one time.
that's the other side of comedy, because I think that I know for me, I tend to err on the side of, you know, the line, but at the same time I also have a certain respect, I think, for people who line step, I suppose, in the sense
I line
that,
jump. I leap.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so kind of like to at least figure out where that is, you know. And so I'm down to play, you know. I I hope anyone listening is, you know, aware that we're in good, good fun.
Have you, in doing Mr. Yunioshi, and you've done other comedy things, have you ever gotten the wrong kind of laugh? Have you ever done stuff that you thought was on this side of the line, and you get like people in the audience, and you know they're laughing, but it's not the laugh you want?
Well, I think it's tricky too, because I think people laugh when they're uncomfortable, you know, and so it is the thing of kind of like, so in the show, I do the I at a certain point, Mickey Rooney gets the character of Mr. Yunioshi, which I perform for the audience, and it usually gets, you know, a kind of cringy, shocked reaction, but it has gotten laughs at a few performances, and I don't necessarily think it's kind of like, oh, this is so funny. I think it's kind of like, oh my God, I don't know what else to do, and laughter is coming out of my body now. And I think that that's where the line stepping thing comes from, I think, because there's a certain thing about jumping or stepping over the line, that shock that like gets a reaction, which I think is, you know, if you're trying to make people laugh, that's, you know, a way to do it. And I think that I know for me, kind of being a more I don't want to say timid, but like a more well,
you don't want to break boundaries so much. I mean, you want to look at where the boundaries are and wave at them, but you're not.
Just kind of being like, okay, well, that's where it is. But I also think of kind of, maybe it's also because of growing up after I graduated high school, I went to college in Florida, and I was doing theater there for a while, and being Asian in doing theater in Florida as an Asian actor, I think was interesting sometimes, because I remember I would do a lot of dinner theater, and the seniors.
Well, how many times can they revive Flower Drum Song? I mean, they're.
Well, that's the crazy thing, is when I was in Florida, I feel like I had more opportunities than some of my Asian artist friends in larger markets, because the community was so close knit. They were like, we know Jonathan, we want to see him do Banquo, or we want to see him do, my favorite was I got to do Crimes of the Heart. I got to have a Southern accent, got to be a young lawyer trying to save.
Oh, but you were still male. You weren't one of
the. Yeah, I was still male.
Wondering about that.
You're like, which one which sister was it?
Yeah, right, okay.
Right. And so getting to do that, but like with audiences, like when I would do dinner theater, some of the seniors would have enjoyed the show clearly, but have no way in terms of how to talk to me. And so you'd get some like very interesting. It's like, your English is so good, and it's kind of like, and it's kind of like, you know, bless your heart, you know.
Is that microaggression, or it's just they're just trying to be nice?
Well, I think that it can be both, right? I think a microaggression can be very well intentioned, you know, and I think that not everyone I think is necessary. I don't want to say equipped because I don't necessarily think this is something as an artist, I feel like sensitivity is not a bad thing. And so for people being sensitive, I'm kind of like, I've made a profession out of it. And so, but for me, I know that I'm also sensitive in the sense of kind of like, okay, this older person has clearly enjoyed the show and is just trying to search for something to connect with me on. And if that is, we both speak the same language and you do it well. And it's kind of like, sure. It's like, I would hope my English was
You don't talk like
good.
Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's.
You know, that's the thing. They're like,
Yeah.
wow, the last, if that's the last reference they had.
Yeah, I mean, when I first met my wife, she was like, okay, I expected your penis to be small. It was. So, you know, it was a thing of extra. She wasn't trying to be mean. She was like, you came up to my expectations just barely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's another one, by the way.
It is. And it's interesting how like the penis size thing. And I feel like both ways it's weaponized, you know?
If you do it right. Yeah. Thank you.
See that I'm so. Are you on Twitter? You should tweet. I'm so like. I'm on Twitter, but I'm so like I don't do hot takes. My takes are always so cold by the time I get to them. I'm kind of like I think of something.
Tweet, I bark, I growl. You know, not my. We're talking, by the way, with Jonathan Cho, aka J. Elijah Cho. You're gonna want to see, for obvious reasons, his one-man show. What? Mr.
Yunioshi.
Mr. Yunioshi is playing, or will be playing, at the Soho Playhouse on Van Damme Street. It's 1 block off Spring Street. You can't miss it. Just get off the E train. You're right there. And he's playing only from May 18th through the 29th. So you have just a little bit of a. Are you in which room? Are you in? Which at the downstairs, upstairs? Which thing are you in? You don't even know. Are you in Florida right now? You have no idea about New York theater.
I'm in LA. I believe I'm in the downstairs. I think.
Oh, cool. That's
maybe,
the big one.
I believe they said there was a bar.
Oh, so there's a bar right on the downstairs thing on the lower level of the sub basement. Then there's a small theater. The bigger theater is actually right there when you walk in. But
you'll see it once you come to the theater. I should know this. I'm going. We fly out on Sunday morning, so I'm very excited to check out.
Who's
space.
We? Is there a we?
Oh yes, my producer, Ari Stidham.
Very nice. So how did you get there? In other words, you've done the show at Fringe festivals. How did you get to the point where you found the producer and then we're taking this to New York?
We met doing Zoom comedy actually. So we read I think a screenplay or something on Zoom together. He was very funny, he thought I was funny, so he reached out, and then we've worked together on a few things. He wrote a Star Wars parody musical and let me play Han Solo, which was very exciting, you know. Yeah. And then now we're working on this, and Ari and his dad David, they're amazing, and they're taking the show.
I was wondering where the money was coming from. Oh, and his dad, the dentist, the BDS. Yeah, the guy with an extra like $20,000 who can throw at this thing. I got it. Yeah, now I understand. This is making so much more sense now. I'm kidding. Let me ask you though. One of the things that's on your IMDb on your page is a lot of short films. They're coming up you look at everybody's IMDb list, and there's things in there because they're 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes long. Is it worth it as a young actor-ish to be doing all these short films? Do they make you a reel? Do they get you noticed? Or do you just do it because you have to act and, here's an opportunity and they cast me?
I mean, I think it's, I guess that's the question, you know? I mean, I like saying yes to things. And I mean, a good example would be the Do All Asian Americans Think Alike video.
Yes,
was... It was offered to me by a friend who I had done a short film with in Florida. And like when I came out to LA, he was like, hey, they're doing this thing. Would you want to come be a part of it? And I was like, yeah, sure. Thinking was going to be like a small thing. And then I think that might be my most viewed thing that I've done, is that random thing that I did for a friend who I did a short film with once. So I think that like it's a gamble, I suppose.
Things
Maybe.
lead to other things. That if
Things
you're
lead,
in the community,
yes.
that really
Things lead to other things, and
yeah.
community is beautiful, I think.
Now, speaking of community, you have appeared in films and TV things with some well-known folks. I'm wondering if you have any personal experiences or some anecdotal stories about people like Brian Posehn.
Oh, Brian Posehn. Yes.
Excuse me. I
Oh
got
no, I actually, you might have, I might be pronouncing it wrong. I'm just think Brian Posehn.
Well, you were on a thing with him, weren't
It,
you?
it was a music video, and it was for he has a metal band, and he shot a video for one of the songs called "New Music Sucks," which is the name of the band is Grandpa Metal.
Oh.
And so it's a song about him yelling about how new music sucks, and I play I think an Uber driver who he's screaming at in it. But he was super nice.
Yeah, I'm not looking for necessarily dirt. I'm not looking for you to say, "Oh my God, what a shit-heeled Patton Oswalt is," or something. No. Like, if you have a funny, happy story, that's just as good. In that video, Weird Al Yankovic was in there, and Patton Oswalt was in there.
Yeah, I didn't see them. I was only in a car with Brian Posehn for a little bit, but he was very nice, and yeah, I got to get screamed at by him. But like between takes, he was like, "Hey, you doing all right? Are you having fun?" It's like, yeah.
Do you have any? Well, who else? What other celebrities have you worked with?
I will say, I worked on *Halt and Catch Fire*, and a buddy of mine who's in it, Nick Pupo, just played John Cazale in that the new behind the scenes Godfather show.
I hear poop, and I
oh, Nick Pupo. He's heard it. He's heard it. But when I was working on *Halt*, I met Lee Pace, and he is like as tall and handsome and disarming as one would expect.
He took his arms off?
Yeah, he ripped them off. But no, because I remember my first day on set, I was kind of like, "I'm boss. This is my first TV. What do I do?" And like, he was like, "Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to the set." And I was just like, "Oh, hi, pushing daisies." And so,
yeah. We're on that. I admit I have not seen the show. What was the name of it?
Oh, Halt and Catch Fire.
Halt and Catch Fire. It's supposed to be very, very good.
It's about computers in the 80s. Which I will say, I was very happy because my dad really likes the show because he was into computers in the 80s. And so I thought, in my head canon is I'm playing a younger version of my dad in that show.
Oh my gosh. Let me ask you a couple more questions before you stay on, and then I'll have to go and do my sermon at my synagogue. You will stick around to play the Today Yesterday trivia game with host Dave Lefkowitz and, of course, David Sheward, the theater critic, and Leslie Van Blake will be there as well. But before we get to that, I do want a little bit more with you. Can you possibly, well, no, I'll save this one. I'll save just for when I'm leaving. Let me do another one here. Since you've been doing Mr. Yunioshi, the show, for a bunch of years now, how has it finessed and changed since you were in the Fringe Festival? This is only like 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah, how is it different now, if at all?
Well, I think a big thing is it's I want to say representation has gotten better. I mean, especially like this year with like Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then I mean Shang-Chi just recently, and Crazy Rich Asians has come out since then, and so it's kind of there's better representation, but I don't want to add a but. There just is, and so I think that's made the show a little less bitter, maybe. And not that I think
changed any dialogue? Have you finessed, or is it really the same script almost, but you feel different when doing it, or you hit certain things different?
I think I've gotten more comfortable. I think both as a performer and as a comedian, because I feel like the first time I wrote it, I was it was very much kind of like, isn't this wacky, an Asian dude playing Mickey Rooney playing Mr. Yunioshi? It was kind of like a very surface sort of approach to it,
or like a queer black usher playing a queer black usher writing a musical about a queer black usher. That happened.
Oh, I want to see that. I've heard such great things
It's all
about
right.
it.
It's all right. We'll talk. But
Okay.
no, so you're playing Mickey Rooney, playing a stereotypical.
Yeah, but now I think I've gotten closer to like I'm more comfortable making jokes that I would have been afraid to make, I think, when I first did it, because I'm kind of like, okay, I think I have more confidence that I can navigate this in a way that people aren't laughing for the wrong reasons. And also just some of the jokes I feel like I just honed in on. And then I do talk a bit about representation at the end, and I've gotten, I think, better about speaking about that, having
I need
conversations like that.
representation because my agent died last week, and I'm floundering. I need a manager. I need an agent. I need a florist.
Representation it matters.
It does indeed. Now we're talking with Jonathan Cho, J. Elijah Cho. Go see him in his show. It's called Mr. Yunioshi, playing May 18th through the 29th at the Playhouse, the Soho Playhouse on Van Damme Street in New York. Get your tickets. In the Facebook chat, there's a link where you can go, but also you can go to your website, J. Elijah, Elijah, Cho. You should have done Jonathan. Will be J. Elijah Show.com. Elijah has an H on the end of it. The hell with it. Go find. You can Google him. It's easier.
Or also MrYunioshi.com.
Yeah, like that's easy to spell for people. Mr.
Yunioshi. You guys, you got it.
Yeah, not like university. YUNIOSHI.com. All right, here's the deal. I've got to go, as you know, but you're going to stay on. Could you, while I bring Dave into the program?
Yes, yeah.
We need to kill about half a minute here. So,
half a minute.
Could you sing? Could you sing from your song? And I kind of intimated this before. No matter how bad things are, at least you don't have poop in your mouth.
Oh my gosh. Can I play this? It's a duet.
Oh.
There are like beautiful harmonies.
Well, like a duet, kind of a thing.
Right, a duet. Yeah. But I can you want me to sing it a cappella or
fine, whatever you want to do. I'm just kidding.
Okay, 30 seconds. All right.
Well, so thank you, and by the way, shalom.
It was so lovely meeting you, Sol, Rabbi Sol Solomon. Thank you.
Dave will be right in. Here is
the poop song, written by me and Nick Pupo. So the message of the song was very simple. It was a song about how when things are difficult, a way to combat that would be to put a little piece of poop in your mouth.